Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm making, please click that subscribe button. Also remember to click that bell button and make sure to tick that box to send all notifications so you don't miss out on any videos. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And in this video we're going to be going through the very first exclusive character for the global version of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, Beatrix. Of course, we're going to be going through her EX fight, but before anything else, I just want to say Happy Chinese New Year to everyone, and I do believe it is the year of the pig. I could be wrong, leave it down in the comments below. But without further ado, let's start this video. So of course, we're gonna start off with the boss's weaknesses, resistance, and abilities. And for this boss, we're gonna be fighting the Merilith Gloria, and she has a weakness to thunder, doesn't have any resistances. And as for her abilities, it's the Brave Attack, which is the normal melee Brave Attack, Slash, which is her melee HP attack, Firaga, which is a Fire Magic Brave Attack, Pouring Rods, which is a group range Brave Attack. She has Absolute Chaos, which is a melee Brave Attack, which also increases her Brave, and has a higher turn rate when inflicting a broken character or inflicting someone with Break. She also has access to Advent of Trials, which is a group magic Brave Attack, and this also inflicts the debuff called Life Hex. Her next skill, which I hope to pronounce right, is the Kahara of Effacement. This increases her Brave when her Brave is less than her initial Brave, plus it will also do a group magic Brave Attack plus an HP attack, and can also inflict a defense down. Next is Abyssal Whirl, which recovers her from her break status, and this is also a melee Brave Attack plus an HP attack, and again this inflicts a defense down, but this has a higher turn rate when inflicting break or attacking a target inflicted with break. So just be careful. And finally, she has her buffs called the Radiant Vigor, which raises her attack, defense, initial Brave, max Brave, and her speed. This also has a plus version, which just gives it more attack, defense, and speed more than the original Radiant Vigor. Alright, so now that we know the weaknesses, resistances, and the abilities of the Merilith Gloria, it's time to take a look at some general tips and guide. And the first one is to save about 80% of your abilities for the last boss. Basically, this is a 5-wave fight, so you do want to keep your abilities in check and make sure you do have enough to keep the boss broken, and of course inflict a lot of Brave plus HP attack with your abilities on the boss. As for the next one is to bring in the boosted character or synergy characters, and these are Beatrix, Terra, and Cryo. As for other characters that you may want to consider if you don't have any of these three are Squall, Tidus, Vaughn, Cloud, Warrior of Light, Prish, Lightning, Alice, Noctis, or Realm. Now obviously there is a caveat to the melee attackers here, because the earlier waves of the fight, the monsters do have resistance to some melee attacks. So you may want to just keep in mind that you will have less DPS with the melee attacks when it comes to the earlier stages. But that's not to say that they will be completely ineffective when you finally get to the boss. In the actual fact, they will do pretty well. And the melee characters that I have mentioned here are Squall, Tidus, Cloud, Prish, the Warrior of Light is one of them, and Lightning to a certain extent as well, and of course Noctis. As for the healer slash brave battery options, you do have options with Kaysit, Selfie, Yuna, Lilith, or Ishtola. Now, me personally, I feel like bringing a healer here is much more an option. But obviously, if you are planning to bring Ifrit as one of your summons, it is probably best to bring a healer rather than a pure brave battery like Ishtola or Lilith. Well, Lilith does have debuffs option, but you get what I mean. Now, as for the summon, you do have an option with, again, Ifrit, which is my personal favorite. You have Bahamut, which is probably the best one because it doesn't have a hard percentage of your HP that you need to be able to use its attributes or extra effects. And of course, Ramuh is there as well in order for you to take advantage of the boss's elemental weakness. Okay, now let's take a look at some general tips and guides on the fight itself. The first one I have for you guys is actually try not to get broken, especially with the all attacks, because the Merilith Gloria actually has quite a variety of attacks that have both Brave plus HP attacks. Now, you probably won't have to worry about that in the initial early phases or the initial start of the fight. However, later on, once it uses Radiant Vigor Plus at some point, then it will start using a lot of these attacks, and getting broken will just result in death. My next tip is for your summon, to actually use it ASAP or when you're in trouble. Now, this is going to depend on your playstyle. If you're going to be more aggressive, obviously summoning ASAP. If you're aiming for that high score, then that's the way you should do it. If you're just trying to clear this fight, well, you can use it when you're in trouble later down in the phases. My next tip is to use debuffs to lower the boss's threat level. Just remember that the boss is immune to poison. However, you can inflict a ton of debuffs such as attack down, defense down, and even sap, I do believe, will work. And you can also use blind in order for you to dodge or make sure the boss miss to a certain extent on one of her attacks, which means it's a free turn for you. And for my final tip, I already touched this a little bit in the first tip, is basically when you see Radiant Vigor Plus, it will get quite hectic as she will start casting quite a lot of those Brave plus HP attacks. So my tip is for you to kill it before it actually starts using all these Brave plus HP attacks. And one way to do it is, if for whatever reason you see the Radiant Vigor Plus activates, you can use your summon to inflict a ton of damage and make sure that you kill it before it does any more attacks. Okay, so now that we know at least an idea of how to go about this fight, it's time to take a look at some possible party compositions. And the first one is obviously going to be the boosted characters, Beatrix, Terra, and Cryle. Now, I did add Squall here as one of the support. It's just gonna depend on you. I still found Squall quite useful with the third phase or the third wave. I mean, he can still, you know, attack that boss and you can still use an AoE attack. But obviously Beatrix support is going to be a much better choice for the boss. As for the summon, I just picked Ifrit and Bahamut. You can obviously use Ramuh, but I just don't like the extra ability or attribute that Ramuh gives. I just like the Ifrit for the 20% attack and Bahamut for the extra Brave that you will get. For my next party composition is the one that I'm actually using in this video, which is basically Beatrix, Kaysit, and Terra. Now, I have two good DPS in this one, and for your support, you can either bring again a Squall or Beatrix, just depends on what you want. It doesn't really matter that much. Again, Beatrix is much better for the last boss. It's just an extra more abilities, and it's a bonus if this Beatrix actually has the EX weapon. As for my third party composition, I just put DPS here plus Katesith and Selfie, and again with the Beatrix support. Now the DPS here has to be on point and has to do a lot of brave damage. So for example, Squall can do quite a lot, Terra can do quite a lot as well, Vaughn as well can do quite a lot of brave damage plus an HP damage attack as well. The only reason why I put DPS here because there are quite a lot of characters that you can add on to this. The only criteria that this DPS has to make is to basically be able to break the boss, especially if you are in danger. So a high amount of brave attack plus an HP attack is gonna be a bonus. Now as for my final possible party composition, I do have the Trinity here or slash the Chase team. The Trinity obviously will have the Warrior of Light is one of the options. It's probably the best option, to be honest with you, because of the provoke. At least when the boss is targeting at least one character, at least you know that Warrior of Light will be able to block that attack, which means more possible attacks for your DPS and your healer. And obviously Warrior of Light has just recently gotten his EX weapon, which makes this a ton more useful than the other tanks. As for the Chase team, the idea is going to be the same. You're just using a lot of the Chase sequence and you're going to take advantage of that. Again, LVL, Noctis can do pretty well, and Dark Knight Cecil if you are feeling adventurous. Honestly, if you want to use Dark Knight Cecil, a Dark Knight Cecil support is actually a much better choice rather than bringing your own. At least this way, you know, you'll be able to make sure that the Dark Knight Cecil doesn't die. Plus, the main thing here is if you want to complete all the missions in one go, plus the high score, Dark Knight Cecil loses a lot of his HP, and honestly there is an HP requirement in one of the missions, so just something to think about there. Well guys, that's it pretty much for this video, but of course I would like to let you guys know about my final thoughts of this fight, and of course you may have your own opinion of this fight. Honestly speaking, I didn't really have much of a problem with this fight. Mainly because I do have Beatrix and I did get her 35 plus her EX weapon, which made I obviously max limit broke her, and which made this fight a lot easier. Plus my Terra actually has her EX weapon as well, makes things a lot easier, more damage, and of course we've got the new Cat God Katesith as well in my team, which made this quite a breeze. Obviously if you don't really have a lot of these characters or most of these characters that I mentioned, then this is going to be a little bit more difficult for you guys. One thing that I did notice, as you guys are seeing here, that Hex debuff actually is pretty annoying because especially if you're using Airfrit, because for the fact that you actually get your HP regen first before the Hex activates, which means you don't really get to full HP. I was actually quite worried here that because I'm taking all these extra HP damage, and obviously it's not a huge amount of HP damage, it's just that obviously if you're trying for that high score, every little HP damage matters. So I was a little scared that I wouldn't get the high score, but obviously I did, so that is awesome. So just something to think about there. And I never got to the point where she was going crazy and using a lot of the Brave plus HP attacks, which definitely helps a lot. Anyway guys, I think I will end this video right here. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I would like to hear from you guys. What team did you use to beat this EX? And I want to know if you actually pulled for Beatrix. I believe about 99% of you will say yes, but I want to know if you got her 35 plus her EX as well, and what do you think of our very first exclusive global character here in the city Opera Omnia. And remember also to follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.